Tamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktin Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18. King Yayati regains his youth. Text number 50. Tam eva hridi vinyasya tam eva hridi vinyasya vasudevam guha ashayam vasudevam guhashayam narayanam aniyamsam nara narayanam aniyamsam nirashihi ayajat prabhum nirashir ayajat prabhum tam eva vriti vinyasya vasudevam guhashayam narayanam aniyamsam nirashir ayajat prabhum tam eva hridi vinyasya vasudevam guhashayam narayanam aniyamsam nirashir ayajat prabhum. Narayanam aniyamsam nirashir ayajat prabhum hridivinyasya vasudevam guhashayam narayanam aniyamsam nirashir ayajat prabhum tam eva him only or an expansion of Narayana aniyamsam invisible to materialize although existing everywhere nirashihi yayati without any material desires ayajat worshipped prabhum the supreme lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Vaisarna Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Without material desires, Maharaja Yayati worshipped the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as Narayana and is invisible to material eyes, although existing everywhere. Can you repeat the translation? Without material desires, Maharaja Yayati worshipped the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as Narayana and is invisible to material eyes, although existing everywhere. Purport. King Yayati, although externally seeming very fond of material enjoyment, was internally thinking of becoming an eternal servant of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda purport and translation to Canto 9, Chapter 18, Text 50 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So here it is said that King Yayati worshipped the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as Narayana. Although he is invisible to the material eyes, yet he is situated in everyone's heart, and he is also existing everywhere, although he is invisible to the material eyes. So, Nirashihi, without any material desires, Ayajat, Prabhum, the Supreme Lord, Prabhu, Ayajat was worshipped by Yayati, uh, Hridivinyasya, who is situated in his heart as a Supreme Lord, Guha Ashayam, who is also existing in everyone's heart, and he is Narayanam, the Supreme Lord, Narayana, or Narayana's expansion. So he's situated, uh, Vinyasya, Hridi Vinyasya, he is situated in everyone's heart, although Aniyamsam, he may not be visible to anyone's material eyes, yet is existing everywhere. So this is the irony. The Lord is everywhere and in everyone's heart, yet no one is able to see the Lord with his material eyes. Aniyamsam. So let's understand this point. So the Lord is present everywhere, yet is invisible to the material eyes. So this point is explained time and again in all the Vedic literatures, how the Lord is present everywhere. Because we should be very clear that we are living in the very existence and creation made by God. And yet there are people who are denying the existence of God. So this is the height of ignorance. We are living in God's creation and we are questioning the existence of God Himself. How foolish is it not? Krishna Prabhupada. Just like if I have come to your home, but I don't accept your presence there or your existence, how foolish it is. It is obvious it is your home, and I have come to your home and staying in your home, and yet I deny that you are existing, your very existence. Then who is the owner? Obviously, you have come as a tenant. There is an owner, but you deny the owner. We have come to this world. Whose world? Okay, you may put that question at least whose world? Just like you may put a question, who's the owner? I may not know the owner, but I may inquire about the owner. Does not mean there is no owner at all. To say there is no owner is completely wrong. But you may not know the owner is acceptable. Similarly, to say God does not exist is not a very sound, intelligent question, intelligent thought. But to say I am not able to see the Lord, that is acceptable. Just like you may not see the owner. You may go, Prabhupada says, you may go to a big company But the chairman is sitting in the innermost chamber. You may not see him also. Even if you enter the factory, still you may not see the chairman, even entering the factory, because chairman, everybody may not have access. Or the chairman may not be there, or the owner of that factory may not be there. Just because he is not present in that factory does not mean he is not there. Does not mean there is no owner of that factory or of that house. Similarly, the very proof that this creation is existing means there's a creator. Now, you may not be able to see him. That's a different point altogether. So there is a qualification required to see the Lord. That is also being explained here. But we'll come to that point later. So, interestingly, of course, in the example which I gave, as far as the house is concerned, the owner may not be present there. He may be present elsewhere. Or he may be present, you might not have met him. But in the case of the Lord, he is present everywhere. And yet we are not able to see. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is described in the 13th chapter, a very famous reference, the 14th verse. Sarvata pani padam tat sarvata kshi shiromukam sarvata shrutimal loke sarvam avritya tishtati. See, in contrast to the atheist or the Nastika, who is not able to see God anywhere, Krishna is saying, I am present everywhere. Interestingly, Krishna is present even in the form of a Nastika. That is also explained. We will try to discuss that. Prabhupada explains in the purport. So this verse, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, Sarvata pani padam tat. The Lord's hand is everywhere. Pani means hand. This is called chakra pani. Use the word chakra pani. Means the holder of the chakra. Sudarshan chakra. Chakra pani. So Sarvata pani. Sarvataha pani. His hand is everywhere. Padam. Sarvata padam. His legs is everywhere present in the creation. Sarvata akshi. His eyes are present everywhere. Not that he's in one place and seeing everything. That is also there. But his eyes are also everywhere. Sarvata akshihi. Sarvata shiraha. His head is everywhere. Shiromukam. So his head is everywhere. Sarvata shrutimal loke. His ears, shrutimal, is everywhere present. Sarvam avritya tishtati. In this way, the super soul, Krishna is saying, as Paramatma, the super soul, I am existing in this way everywhere. So Krishna is talking about Paramatma to Arjuna. So Krishna is using a second person. Speaking as the first person is another interesting thing. Krishna speaking as the first person is indicating Paramatma as the second person. Explaining to the third person Arjuna. In grammar, there's a first person, second person, third person. Krishna is saying he. Krishna used the word he. Krishna is not using the word I. He's saying he exists. His eyes are everywhere. His ears are everywhere. His legs are everywhere. His heads are everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists. Prabhupada translates it very nicely like that. So, the example is given. Just like sunlight is diffused everywhere in creation. Sunlight is present everywhere in creation. Similarly, the Paramatma, the super soul, is existing in his all-pervading form everywhere. And in him only all the jivas are existing. In fact, it is said that all the jivas are existing in him and on him. So you cannot avoid Paramatma or the presence of Paramatma everywhere. Prabhupada also gives the same example of the sun very nicely. Just like the sun is far away, yet he is present everywhere. He can be present everywhere. How it is possible? The example is given of the reflection of the sun. Crude example is given the reflection of the sun on a water pot. Suppose there are 100 water pots. There are 100 water pots. and then you place it below the sun. This is an open space. You can see this sun being reflected in every single water pot simultaneously. So if a sun can be seen simultaneously in hundreds of water pots, so similarly the Paramatma also can simultaneously exist simultaneously in everyone's heart. So Prabhupada also explains there are unlimited heads, legs, hands, eyes, and unlimited living entities. So all are existing in and on the super soul. Therefore, the super soul is all pervading. Of course, the individual soul cannot be expected to possess his hands and legs everywhere. It refers to the Paramatma. So Prabhupada explains in the purport there. Another point is the Lord, although he is present in the spiritual world, Goloka, still he is present in this world also. Goloka eva nimisati akilatma bhutaha. So the Lord resides eternally in Goloka, yet he can be approached from this world. So he is the all-pervading Brahman. He is also the localized Paramatma, situated in everyone's heart and in every atom. So simultaneously, the Lord can have multiple presence. He can be present everywhere simultaneously, although he is in the spiritual world. So that is his omnipotency nature. Omnipotency. How he can expand into many, many, many forms and be present everywhere. Therefore, in the Brahma Samhita it is said, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. So the Lord can expand in unlimited forms and be present as Paramatma in everyone's heart. Yet he remains the one supreme without a second. Yet he is one. Therefore, he is called Advaitam. Although he is Anantam, still he is Advaitam. So this is the Achintya Beda Abeda feature of the Lord. Simultaneously, the Lord is one with and different from all his expansions and incarnations. So, so the Lord is everywhere present, either in his all-pervading form, as Brahman, Brahmajyoti. There is also Krishna only. Or he is present as Paramatma, yet we are not able to see. But the fact is, he is everywhere present. And he is always with us. He is always with us, even with the atheist. Nobody can avoid the Lord, is the conclusion. The Lord is always available for everyone, even for a neophyte, not necessarily an advanced devotee. He is available for everyone. Personally, one sometimes this example is also given. Just like the sun is one up in the sky, there are millions of people walking on the street, right? Millions of people walking on the street. You have, all of us have this practical experience as we are walking on the road. You can also see in the daylight, I'm saying, the sun is also walking or moving along with you. How many ever kilometers you travel, sun always seems to be above your head, right above your head. You can even go to America from India right now and still see sun is still next to you, just above your head. So this is the omnipotency of the sun. If an ordinary material object can be present with you right from India to America, which is from east to west, how much Paramatma or the Supreme Lord can be present with, how much can he also be present with you? If a material object can be present, how much capability and possibility exists for the Lord to be present with you and with me and with everyone. So I can say the sun is with me. You can say, the person in America can say, billions of people can say, sun is with me, is just above me, is coming along with me. So when the sun can come along with you, exactly like that, this example is given, the Lord also can accompany the Jiva wherever he goes. So wherever you go, sun is coming to you. You go to Australia, sun is there. Go to America, he is there. So similarly, whichever form you go, wherever you go, the Lord is always present with you. The irony is He is present with you and everywhere, yet we are not able to see him. He is invisible to the material eyes. Aniyamsam. Actually, in the very question, the answer is there. He is invisible to the material eyes. So that means to the material vision, to the material senses, to the material eyes, he is invisible. So this is the idea. Understanding. To the material eyes, he is invisible. If you develop your spiritual eyes, spiritual vision, he becomes visible. That is why many places the Lord is described as Adokshaja, one who cannot be seen with our material eyes or material senses, who is not approachable by material senses. He is also called Achintya. Therefore, the Lord's form is also said Achintya Rupam. So, Achintya means one who is inconceivable to an ordinary person or a person with material vision. He is invisible. Achintya. He is called Achintya. In the Vedas, Prabhupada uses this phrase also very commonly. Avan manasa gocharaha. One who is not seen or realized by material sense perception. So he cannot be realized materially by ordinary people. Therefore, sometimes the Lord is being declared as Nirakar because you cannot see him. Therefore, sometimes he is declared as, he is understood as, not declared, he is understood as Nirakara, one who is formless, because you're not able to see his spiritual form. That is also explained in the Upanishads. Many descriptions are there like that. The Lord is formless because he doesn't have material form. Even the Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita also is an Upanishad. So all the Upanishads have to match. There cannot be contradiction. Even Bhagavad Gita itself, it is explained the Lord is without senses, meaning material senses. In the 13th chapter is a very famous reference. The 15th verse and the 16th verse, Krishna talks about this. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya sarva indriya vivarjitam. Krishna says the super soul, Paramatma, Krishna is saying he is the origin of all the senses, yet he himself is without senses. This is interesting. Looks ironical, right? Or contradictory. The Lord, as Paramatma, is the origin and proprietor of all the senses, controller of all the senses. Paramatma is the controller of all the senses, owner of all the senses, source of all the senses. Yet he himself is without senses. What does this mean? So the Acharyas explain it actually means he has no material senses. And how can you say he has all material? He is the owner and source of all material senses, but he has no senses. Prabhupada in the purport very nicely analyzes this verse. If he is without senses, because this without senses means he doesn't have material senses, he has spiritual senses. But the impersonalists or the neophyte spiritualists take it that God actually has no senses, either material or spiritual, which is not correct, not right. How? What is the proof? So in the purport, Prabhupada explains very nicely. The Lord has transcendental senses, spiritual senses, which is not covered by matter. Unlike the Atma, we also have spiritual senses. But when we come to this world, those spiritual senses get covered by matter, material energy, called this body. But when the Lord comes down to this world, he is not covered by matter. Although his existence is spiritual, he is not covered by matter. He always remains transcendental. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, is a very nice point being made. Apani pado javano grihitaha. Apani padaha javana grihita. That means the Lord has no material legs. I'm sorry, he has no hands, materially contaminated. Yet he has his hands and accepts whatever sacrifice you offer to him. He has no hands, yet he can accept anything what you offer. How is this possible? Because He accepts through his spiritual hands. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes. Otherwise, how is he able to see everything? Past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of everyone, and he knows what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he knows everything, but nobody knows him. Similarly, the Upanishad continues, the Lord has no legs like us, yet he can travel throughout space because he has spiritual legs. So, in other words, the Lord is not impersonal. He has his eyes, his legs, hands, everything. And because we are also his part and parcel, we also have hands, legs, eyes. The only difference is our uh, senses are materially contaminated, but his senses are not materially contaminated. That is the only difference. So that's why it is said he appears by his own internal potency. But as far as we are concerned, we are forced by material energy to make our appearance in this world and forced to accept a material body, matter covering our spiritual senses. So therefore, through this gross material body, material eyes, we're able to see material forms. But because the Lord descends in his own spiritual form, we are unable to see him. Therefore, the Lord, out of his kind mercy, makes his appearance in the material form which we can see. That is called the deity form. But the Lord, when he appears in the deity form, he spiritualizes the deity form, the material elements. He spiritualizes. And therefore, that material form also becomes transcendental. Becomes transcendental. Actually, similarly, in our case also, just like the Lord spiritualizes that material form, similarly, even when we enter this material body, we can also spiritualize this material form, just like the deity. But in the case of the deity spiritualizes and enters and accepts that form. In our case, we have to undergo the process of bhakti to spiritualize this form. Same, because Krishna is that recipient of bhakti. So bhakti has that potency to spiritualize matter to spirit, to convert matter to spirit. So similarly, if we engage in devotional service, then slowly this material body will elevate and advance and upgrade itself to become spiritual. That means it will not have material effect. It will not have material effect. That means this material body uh, will will not be attracted to any sense enjoyment when it is purified. So by the process of devotional service, this material body also can be purified and freed from the affinity for material attraction, material sense objects. So that is the power of devotional service. Then with the purified material form, material senses, purified material senses, which is actually spiritualized senses, we can actually see the Lord. So therefore it is said, uh, unless we purify the senses, we cannot see the Lord, although He is everywhere present. In the Brahma Samhita it is said, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Here it is said he is invisible to the material eyes, Aniyamsam. But in contrast, Lord Brahma is saying he is constantly visible to Santas. Santas means devotees of the Lord. He is constantly visible. As what? As Govinda. It's constantly visible as Govinda within the devotee's heart. But Prema Anjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, when his eyes are imbued with love for the Lord, applied in bhakti, when one applies himself subjects himself to the process of bhakti, and awakens his love for Krishna, then such persons can see the Lord constantly in their hearts as Shyama Sundara, Achintya Guna Swarupam. Here also the word is used, Achintya Guna Swarupam. Shyama Sundara. He can see the Shyama Sundara in his heart constantly. Same thing is explained in the Bhagavad Gita also. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. In the 11th chapter is another famous verse by Lord Krishna. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. Evam vido Arjuna. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, only through the process of bhakti, devotional service, can one see me, can one approach me, can one understand me. So only through the bhaktiya tu means only. Only. Everywhere the word only indeed is being used. Here also you see, tam eva pridi vinyasya. Tam eva, only him. What is that? The Lord is the only worshipable person. So our focus must be on that Supreme Lord, within the heart, outside the heart. So bhaktya tu ananya shakya. He can be seen. He can be seen and understood, but only by devotional service. Just like even in this world, even in our experience, you have to develop a certain vision, certain understanding, certain intelligence to see something, to understand something. Otherwise, you will not see. This physical gross seeing is not seeing. Like Prabhupada's famous example of that car. Suppose it suddenly stops. But you don't understand why the car stopped. You may open the bonnet and see. Everything is there. All the parts are there. Not that the part has fallen down. Engine has fallen down. All the parts are there. Still you don't see what is the problem. So you require another vision to understand why the car stopped. You must be a mechanic, engineer, mechanical engineer. So similarly, there's certain eye, certain vision required to see the Lord. That is purified eye, spiritual eye, purified eye. Purified by devotional service and saturated with devotional service. Then only you can see the Lord eye to eye. Similarly, again it is said in Bhagavad Gita, another famous verse, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only through the process of devotional service one can understand me, one can approach me, not others. Others can't see me, can't approach me. In the Upanishads, it is said, Yam evaishe vrinute tena labhya tasya esha atma vibrunite tanum swam. There's one more criterion. Whomever the Lord selects to reveal his form, tanum swam, to reveal his tanu means his transcendental body, swam means his own transcendental body. So, labhya, tena labhya, only such a person can see the Lord. Whomever the Lord chooses. Eva esha vrinute tena labhya, only whom the Lord chooses, such a person only can see the Lord. But we cannot see him. Just like, to put it in a simple way, you want to see a big man, you just can't see him unless he permits you. Even his secretary will stop you. The security guard will stop you from seeing the owner of a big factory. Nobody will allow you simply like that. Unless the man, the owner permits, you cannot see him. In this world also it is true. Similarly, the material energy stops us from seeing the Lord. Will it allow us to see the Lord? So we have to qualify, we have to purify ourselves, we have to uh, uh, get the adhikara to see the Lord. That adhikara is attained or obtained or earned. Adhikara should be earned. That earning is devotional service. So by performing devotional service, you earn the adhikara to see the Lord. Otherwise not. possible. How much ever you try. Therefore, the atheist for eternity, even for future, can never see the Lord. The irony will remain also. Lord is everywhere present and visible. He will never see the Lord. This will be his position. So many places Krishna is telling. Yes. Then, that the Lord is present in everyone's heart is another nice point here. See, God is present right in our heart. This is also explained in many, many scriptures. In the Bhagavad Gita, so many places Krishna describes. Just like Krishna says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Like people ask, where is God? So God is in one's own heart. So that's also being explained here. And he is worshipped by Yayati. So God is present in our own heart, not far away. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe. Particularly Krishna has said Hriddeshe. The Lord is present in the heart. When this question comes, how do you know where it is told, where God is? How do you know God is in the heart? If you have seen him, fine. But for those who have not seen him, for a common man, how do you locate him? So Krishna himself is saying where he is present. He himself lightly saying, I am present here, you can see me. Just like a devotee may be in an office and then he may invite somebody to the temple. He may say, please come to the temple, there's an office, first cabin, second cabin, you can meet me there. Directly he is telling. You go on searching, and they don't see the devotee, go out of the temple. Sometimes people come, no? Prabhuji, I saw you everywhere. I didn't see you anywhere, so I went away. You didn't see the place where I am sitting. So, people are searching God everywhere. God is saying, I'm in your heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. So many places Krishna says this heart region specifically. Then Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishtaha. There also again Krishna is saying Hridi Sannivishta. I am in your heart. Then even in that famous verse Upadrishta Anumanta Cha Paramatmeti Chapi Uktaha Dehe Asmin Purusha Paraha. Again Krishna is saying there as Paramatma, I am witnessing and sanctioning all your activities and I am situated in your own body. Dehe Asmin, Krishna has said. Dehe Asmin. Then again, that is in the 13th chapter. Again in the 13th chapter, Krishna says, Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitham. Hridi Sarvasya, in everyone's heart, not just in my heart, even in your heart. Everywhere, everyone's heart, he is situated in the heart. Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitham. Later, there are more references also in the Bhagavad Gita itself, particularly say Krishna saying, I'm in the heart region. And interestingly, the last point here, Maharaj Yayati worshipped the Supreme Lord as situated in everyone's heart as Narayana. Here it is said Narayana, not as Paramatma. Similarly, in Brahma Samhita it is said the Lord in the heart as Shyamasundara. So there is Shyamasundara, there is Narayana, there is Paramatma. Actually, they are all one and the same. The Lord has unlimited expansions and based on one's realization of the Supreme Lord as Paramatma or as Narayana or as the Shyamasundara, you can see that very Lord in your heart. But they are Advaitam, although they are Anantam. So they're all one and the same, not different from one another. So the devotees of the Lord, they see him as Shyamasundara. And those who are devotees of Narayana, they see him as Narayana. And those who are yogis observe the Lord as Paramatma in one's heart. So I'll stop here. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.